Thank you all for coming. And I just want to thank Howl for having us here and showing the two books and putting up with my craziness. I just think Howl is really important because the Lower East Side doesn't really have a museum from our generation or an archive, whereas in the 30s and 40s, MoMA had the Cubist and the Surrealist. The Whitney had the Ashcan School and the Abstract Expressionist. The New Museum of 77 was Marcia Tucker. So our generation doesn't have a museum or an archive. So that's why I think Howl is so important. We were always outsiders. There was just a couple of exceptions like Kiki Smith or Warner Rovich and Martin Wong finally are reaching some sort of plateau in the art world, but most of us are degenerates. What they used to call degenerate art, or outsider artist, graffiti or neo-expressionism. It was always a little friction of what was happening here. Anyway, and we're really happy that Howl has our two books for the archive, and also this light box. This light box records all the street posters from the Your House Is Mine book, which are all those posters of that banner. And it's just important as the books are. And records New York at a special time before this Disneyfication of New York. So tonight we're focusing, reading from the two books, Your House Is Mine, which was inspired by the Tompkins Square Park riots. Some of you specifically remember that. I see Frank Morales and Nadia and other people that were there that night. Me and Nadia decided we had to do something. It was a victory in the neighborhood. So we started, let's do a couple of posters, and it turned into a book, and then it turned into a 5-year project. It was a mixture of posters, not just that aesthetic of high and low art, just with some. Red Rodriguez was living in Tompkins Square Park. He did the SOS poster. Bands like Missing Foundation and Circle X did posters. Street poets like Will Sales and Richard Pitts. Stencil artists like Anton and Fekner, graffiti artists like Lee, Lady Pink and Stash, and Tom McGlynn with his Die Hard poster where he kind of manipulates pop culture to more abstract work, like what Walter Sipser was doing with the crutch as a leg, and when I was fooling around with the fish hooks as symbols of addictions. So when we made this book, it was before desktop publishing. So I made the book with Nadia Coen and my brother Paul. We were the editors, along with 100 other artists. But it's interesting, some of the graphics, it's all paste up. So we were the last of the paste up artists. And Nadia Coen was a master at all the black lines are all tape. This is all black tape. So the feeling of the book had an interesting roughness to it. All the stenciling of each title we did by hand. So even the weight of the book was symbolic, being like 17 pounds. Which illustrates in Anton's piece, where it's a figure carrying a building on its back. So I want to start the reading. Nadia's going to read the first piece. We got a really good lineup.
So I'm going to read a piece by Bruce Witzheep, who was an amazing artist. He passed away in 1994. He did the Hail disaster poster in the back. It's the one with the monkey. Hail disaster, for I am twisted, let it all come down. I was just rereading it before tonight, And I think it's so, it's still so pertinent. It's really beautiful. It's called Fire. I give you these because they have no ears, Sitting Bull. I came here today to praise. Some things in their completion speak of sadness, like words as they leave the mouth, they die. I wanted to say, what is my job as an artist, as a man, as a member of this circle, that we have a contract with each other. When we enter into a book, we have an obligation as the reader to complete the work, the job to give form to the words with my lips, and yet to kill as the words dissolve into the air, a job to murder and to have a vision, to be amoral. I came here to ask of you a vision, to be visionary, and in action, to complete that vision, to die a little. The fire once lit must die. That in the fire there is a rising up and a dying down, and that we as artists suck in that fire, and with pursed lips, shaped lips, articulate a vision, and even in the moment of its forming, watch it descend and eventually death. Knowing even that, as we sing, we shower ourselves with dust. Still, we must sing and not advance cynically to the place of eventual and certain endings, but to praise equally the forming, creation, and the destruction that is the thing in its completion. Now is the time for heart work, to water the dust that we shrouded ourselves in. You looked hard at the world and cursed its weakness. Now focus. Now burn holes and create a clear space to ash, to shape a new world. For as much as clearance, we need spirit to find it and know it, to have ways of shaping and coaxing it to life. You had your hell, now water it. If not with tears, then piss on it and form a mud, the better to create a new model, a new revolution of turning, like the planets turning, and bring back the sun. Bruce Whitsiep, 1992.
Okay, thanks, Nadia. Free Humanities, going to read a John Fekner piece. John Fekner has some work in the show. The We the People is a collaboration with Fekner, and New York is okay. John's, as you know, is a stencil artist. He had posters in Your House Is Mine and Fractured Lives.
It's an honor to be here reading for John. This is called Discarded Objects. Discarded objects were recently unearthed near the bank of the East River, where it joins Newton Creek in the Western Queens. Fabricated by an artisan of the day, the objects appear to tell multiple stories of dissatisfaction with the state of affairs of the day. Recently, historians have speculated that the works may not be the work of an individual, but perhaps by members of a type of an environmental guild. Every item was numbered, cataloged, and archived by the team of specialists well educated in New York history, who, authors, artists, and creators, were still remains of a mystery to this day. The following is a partial listing of descriptions of some of the recovered objects. Item 6-17. Etched into what appeared to be a stack of old 45 RPM records read, "The silent sound of industrial victories will collapse when the future collides with the history." I'll repeat that. The silent sound of industrial victories will collapse when the future collides with history. Item -618. Fragments of a stone and cement were reassembled to reveal a cryptic message: wheels over Indian trails. The phrase, perhaps pertaining to a demolished plot of sacred ground of indigenous to the Mispetches tribe of the 1600s. Item 6-19. Tar-encrusted toys resembling man-made automobiles mass-produced during the middle of the 20th century. Item 6-20. On an official document from the Department of Immigration and Naturalization dated July 8, 1992, read the following sworn statement. I am not from this country. I was a specialist in precious stones. We stripped the mountain side bare. Then I was fired and I came to the United States. Now I am unemployed. I specialize in what others throw out. The metal I mine is 5-cent aluminum. Item 6-21. Scrawled across a rectangle metal plate read, "The days of masterpieces are over. Throw away the paintbrushes and charcoal." The above items are well numerous. Others were excavated in the New York area. Most of the material was recovered is believed to have been made during the Reagan and Bushzaic dynasties, circa 1978-1992 AD. John Fekner, 1992.
Okay, Cheryl Pyle is going to play for us. She's a jazz flutist that played at Bullet Space and New Blue. She played at New Blue and the Blue Note.
I'm really thrilled to be a part of this. I got to play at Bullet Space a few times, and it's a wonderful gallery. I'm so happy that we're keeping this history of unique degenerate art in our area, what's left of us. Degenerate art. Degenerate art. Degenerate art.
Okay, now Rachelle Garniez is going to perform, and I've known her since Rivington School, the Nada days. Okay.
Thank you. They're so gorgeous. See you later. This mic is a little low down. I think I'm gonna raise it up. Here we go. Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks. Oh, this is a new street back there. Extra place. I didn't know we needed an extra place. I guess we got an extra place because there just wasn't enough streets. So you had to make a few more. Oh, na, na. There's lots of reverb on the mic, so I'm gonna back off. I'd like to tell you a little story. It's just a little story. When I first got an accordion, oh, I fell in love with it. Oh, in fact, I stole it from my friend. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I stole it. I didn't know how to play it. Oh, no. We're talking long time ago, maybe 35 years. So at the time, I liked to play outside on the street, so I could earn as I learned. And one of my favorite spots outside was on St. Mark's Place and 2nd Avenue. It was the southeast corner. There was a bank over there. Oh, and they had a light which shined down on a Saturday night. And that was the place to play. Yes, indeed. And I didn't sing, I just played. And stuff like that. So I made a few bucks. It was good. And I'd play, and people would walk by and go, "Free bye!" And I'd play that too. One night I was playing outside, yeah, it was a bank. It used to be bank, and then it became another bank. Oh, and I was playing outside there on 2nd Avenue, and I heard a guy yelling at me from down the block. I just didn't know what he was talking about. And he came a little closer. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And I could barely see him, because he was all blurry. And the closer he got, the blurrier he got too. He was a blurry guy. And he came up to me and he said, leaned in real close. He winked so slowly it was like a gate in a store being pulled down. Shh, clunk. He winked like that and he goes, "Hey, have you got a cross?" I said, "No." And he said, "Good." Because I wouldn't want to double cross, yeah. And he reached into his pocket in a blurry suit and he leaned down and pulled out a little tiny cross, see? And he leaned into and put it into my case. Just like that. And he walked away into the night. That's the last time I ever saw that guy. But I wrote him a song. My love is like a red, red nose. He runs his mouth and sleeps in his clothes. He done gone south a sinking ship, rippling, a wrinkled rip, getting by on a wink under prayer. My love is like a memory, a 3-speed bike, a Christmas tree lights up the world when he sings to me. My love is a Christmas tree. A steamer drunk on a sinking ship, a trickling tear, wrinkled rip, getting by on a wink and a prayer. My love is like a memory, a 3-speed bike, a Christmas tree lights up the world when he sings to me. My love is a Christmas tree. My love is a crying shame. My love is a red, red nose. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. What a beautiful song.
We're going to read from the next book, Fractured Lives. Carl Watson's going to read. Okay, Carl.
Can you hear me? All right. I'm going to, Andrew was kind enough to put 2 poems of mine in here. So I'm going to read them. This one is a globe for a head. It starts out with a quote from John Milton. You'll know who that is. You wrote Paradise Lost. Never know these days. The earth felt the wound, and nature from her seat, sighing through all her works, gave signs of woe that all was lost. All right, that was the quote. Cover a gas ball in barbs, make a mace of it, dress a coward's heart in wire and thorn, jam glass shards in a styrofoam wig mold, then heave with disdain to the infinite sea. You might hear the air scream as it bleeds. The metaphor here is Ball bleeds air, body bleeds womb, breath tears spirit over nerve, digestion comes in flying cries and whispers which sing an indignant refrain. This earth is an aggregate of sentience and pain. Call it a cracked stone head whose faults those lesions of scalp and cheek reveal, subsurface wheels and torturous levers, antediluvian weights and measures, primal transmission, amoral expression might grind a planet up in seeming geologic smiles or bear it down in biologic entropy or empathy. But too much empathy can drive a body insane. A malignant self-regard that burns in dreams around a thermodynamic seed. And now that 8-mile crust is but a stretch-marked mug of flesh, tried by lust, pulled fast and thin over anxious bones until, as living skin, its planes show scars and the splayed, singed old Eden only grows further pitted, dozed, excavated, hosed, built on, blown, hacked and worn by hard and toxic waters and slow torment. Oh, how this pocked facade, turning in the indifferent ether, is, to say the least, haggard now. Ants eat at it. Birds peck it, men spill on it, grind it under iron wheels, rape the soil with drilling heels till the quarried sores yawn septic and sensual, a skinned dome, a cast-off dog bone of a planet, but balder and deader like the rest. Ceasing to produce more life from disinterest, these tired eyes won't look back. No, no memory, no expectation, no name either, as 4.5 billion years of matter's reformation give way to the orgy of human creation. For them who bear it, the weight is immense, but there is no resting place, no resting place. There was just this one stand to make, as prophets avow. It's so easy to fall, ignorant of influence and blind to the consequences of it all. So there was another one that I'll read. It's kind of the same topic. Okay. Here we go. This one is called Earth Mother Pate. But I changed the title to Force Feeding, a Darwinian Rhapsody. If you stick a tube down a goose's throat to force feed a doctored mash of corn, you get a lardy liver to mill in a processor with spices to serve on crackers and toast to a consumptive class, the hungering mass. If you force doctored milk on a penned calf, immobilized not to overwork the muscle, forbid it to wander, mature, or mate, you get that bloodless, savory meat so prized at the banquet table of the biblical beast. If you fill human veins with hormones or heroin, just keep pumping it in despite any illusion of ecstasy or satiety or victim might enjoy, you get a hollow man, an empty head and heart, an addled moral frame, compliant to the market. If you pump toxic elixirs beneath the tough crust cracked across the bulging needs of commerce, devices run by the extracts will spell to future acolytes, it's all right. The world was made for nothing but to encourage appetite, so it may seem profitable to force one's will by rail and road against a mythic paradise for pate or veal, fuel or glory or other trophy. But the unseen bargain bars the desired result. The parasite atrophies along with its host, as does the ingrate child within the womb of the material world it must, by rights, consume. Thanks.
Michael Carter's going to read now from a poem he wrote in the book.
This poem is called Fracture, and it's obviously about fracking, but it's about a lot of other kinds of fractures as well, as you will find out. It didn't begin with the fracking, but the crack just grew. Darwin's fracture sutured it temporarily as his leg healed, or way before that, fissures in a bonding that appeared of limestone but was built of tenuous shale. Toxic chemicals and blasts of fresh water released all the gas out of that stentorious balloon, destroyed whatever gravitational force had held the firmament in place before. The walls came tumbling down and earth gave way, yielding English tremors, drilling without verifiable yield. These soft push-puller things, deep in earth, tilted, horizontal, all which ways. Regardless of spiritual reap, so many moments of tenderness and passion only apparently distancing the reaper, undone by the myriad faults of love and lovers, chasms and promontories. We all fall into, bound over when the heart cracks and the earth's crust loses its cohesion, derided by filthy rich oil men and their cabal of corporate cronies who deny the 99%, even 2%. How long does it take before the wounds stop? The sudden display in the night, or for the underground streams to recover from devastation? Why this relentless harrowing of what seems solid stone, temples ransacked by pulsing migraine and doubts the excavation was ever safe at all? To build a temple to the sun, only for human sacrifice, exploit the fumes in the rocks a few more years? Did the Mayans really know in the near year 2012, water would ignite?
So I just want to mention a little background about the frack book. It did help us, it helped us force the governor to ban fracking. So it was a big, sometimes art works, sometimes it has that power. And these were, we made 5 of these banners. There were 65 posters, and we marched with them in Albany and Binghamton and the Climate March in New York City. So it was a pretty powerful contingency. I'm also rooted in upstate New York, and the southern tier is a gold mine for fracking. So, but it was a bit of a victory. And what's interesting about these 2 books is, looking back now, how whereas Your House Is Mine helped us get legalized as a squat, The Tompkins Square Park riots helped stall gentrification for about 10 years until Giuliani brought in his tank. We used to have our posters in front of our building, and it sort of was like an open up protection. It protected us from eviction. And while the city was trying to evict us, the public library on 40th Street was buying the book. So it was an interesting stage going on. And they would get on the phone with the Cultural Council of the Arts, and Papo Colo at Exit Art and Jeanette would put in a good word for us. So it helped us get legalized. So 2 art projects in my lifetime, I witnessed how it changed. We forced a change, which is interesting how art has that power. What's kind of powerful about Your House Is Mine, we lost a lot of people in that book. People like Bruce Witzip, Kuki Mueller, David Warnerovich, Bimbo Rivez, Pedro Pitre, Martin Wong, and recently Steve Cannon and John Farish, just to name a few. But it's almost, at this point, 60% of the people in that book have passed away. So we're leaving a nice mark for their memory. Okay, so Frank Morales is going to read something from the book. He participated in both books. He also lived at Bullet Space for a little while. Oh, okay.
Okay, greetings everyone. I'm so happy to be here among, people, creative people in the hood. The fracking needle, 8,000 feet deep in the arm of Mother Earth, pumping the poison effusents, benzene, formaldehyde, myriad chemicals into the hot planet, release killer methane. Drug-pushing corporate villain of the underworld, the demon lost in paradise, detached from the divine fields and fauna, beach and pond, cares not for sister water, in which we were born, who is all. The sole relevance, therefore, in the otherwise empty shoebox of useless knowledge is the felt hurt and violent rupture of the divine bond, the inexpressible oneness beyond the words, does nature have rights? A rhetorical question we common sense know the answer to before we ask it. For the transparent eye walks on the curved earth eyeball which slopes down along the beach of being, where even the sun sets on my horizon. And because I know nature like I know me, I have this to say. From the bedrock of our life, from the age of fish, in the transcendental self over time and space, our animated voice emanates echoing in sedimental caves inside our heads, inside the spherical universe expanding into self at mind-bending speed of enlightenment, says simply that there is no debate here. That's right. You who go there, arrogantly sleazing, hissing stream of shameful greed, go ahead, push on into my loaded dice, into the trap that I have set for you. I knows not the meaning of the word pollution, but is the word made flesh, made soil and sea, made free inside bone and brain, river made tear, the earth made tomb. For you will become wreckage. It is your end, the end of your foolish pride. Yes, I yawn as physics drills, pierce, and bleed the environment. That's your problem, not mine. Woe to the other blind pig legions, Halliburton's 70,000 drones facilitated by at-large war criminals and their co-conspirators in Congress who encircle, enclose, and suffocate the earth, invest in biocide, ecocide, while my riverside never heard of you dizzy with suicide. You excel only in self-mutilation, eating your own dead, enabled by numb nirvana, the daily distracting excesses, the cold, cold heart. Force chokes off the future, deforming limbs, minds, and crystals deep, sickening farms, and hard-earned honest fortune. Know that the echo of my screams is your song, your death march, and lo, like shedding skin, I will be done with you, We of ongoingness be beyond the petty banalities of your monotonous rise and fall, your endless dead loops of short-sighted ignorance, who with infinite excuses and lies, tar surging in your veins, addicted to war and the illusion of power, think yourself invincible? Well, think again. For your sting is hype. The essential pathology of your path is the cheap grace of your aggression, the presumption of your prerogatives that inflict disease as though you had standing is but quaking ground of meaninglessness. For you are nothing. Violence, be not proud. Face your humiliation. For the moment you drown out reason and truth, but lacking any real rights, you are but passing delusions of grandeur in the otherwise smooth eros of light, life, and love. Too bad. You can't see that. True energy of the breath of life is all you need, but suffocate you will, because you are driven to poison our future, our water and air, to poison our democracy of green and blue with mutated ways. Instead, make love to me with healing and nurturing care for leaves of grass, divine sky, pure water undefiled, and the breezy spirit that never dies will redeem you. In the meanwhile, know that I will fractalize and fraternize, socialize and harmonize, and causing the stones to cry out for the cessation of your fracking with repetition of protest, repetition of reason and wisdom, repetition of rights, replicating rebellion in the gold and crystal mines, in the seabeds, in the moss and manna, in the rose and amongst the righteous, in the soulful earth and farms, frontier forest and pain, and in solidarity with the furious Pachamama that puts male might on the run with civil disobedience, civil obedience to conscience in the demands of divine love, to the lilies of the field standing up in defiance. I will strike back in love, the enemy within, for we can be serene. Who can be serene in a country where both the rulers and the ruled are without principle? Who can sleep while mindless exploitation of the earth dispossesses its inhabitants? So calling all poets, seers of the natural mystic, calling all holy bodies to arms, engage in deliberate violations of unjust and unnatural laws in pursuit of the lofty goal, defrack America, because things are in the saddle, and ride mankind. What have they done to the earth? What have they done to our fair sister? Ravaged and plundered and ripped her and bit her, stuck her with knives in the side of the dawn, and tied her with fences and dragged her down. With your ear down to the ground, I hear a very gentle sound. We want the world and we want it now. Thank you.
Upstate, I live on the Susquehanna River. This piece is called My Name is Mud. I'm going to collaborate with Cheryl on this one. My name is Mud. I am the Susquehanna, drifting over rocks and pebbles downstream through muck and mud. I am the great Susquehanna named high spirits from Lenape, Chief Oneonta Mud River, who I am. I am the longest artery on the East Coast, running through 4 states, from giant Otsego Lake, central New York to Pennsylvania, Maryland to the edge of Virginia, as I spit out at the Chesapeake. My name is Mud. I am the Susquehanna. I am the oldest existing river in the world with 10 tributaries, including the Unadilla and Shenango. Moving heaven and earth, 27,500 miles of riverbank bleeding at its edges, draining into the belly of the Chesapeake Bay. I am older than the early Cenozoic mountain ridges through which I run. My name is mud. I am Masoniac. I am the great Susquehanna. I run with my fish over rocks and pebbles through muck and mud, walleye, smallmouth, brook trout, eel, catfish, muskie, shad, swimming up all in flowing downstream tributaries. Yet methane, benzene, radium is injected in my veins regularly by unregulated industries. I am a bubbling river, dying slowly. I'm hooked, bleeding, running downstream in the muck, tumbling on my knees, scraping the bottom over rocks, pebbles, stones, deathbed reeds. I am the Susquehanna. My name is mud, begging for mercy, running over hot lava. I run with the wind and tide, ancient dirty water. I get muddier, yet as I drift downstream, zigzagging past Sydney, Ethanol, Binghamton, draining poison all downstream into skunkweed, making sooty gray, aqua clear waters, tentacles pulling me in. I am a sinking boat. I gasp for oxygen. The river spills, unfolding like the hand of God. I am a toxic junkie, Indian curse, ebb tide evaporated. Sisquanani, Chesapeake Howl, you owe me, America. You sucked me dry, your manicured civility pitted against each natural other. I bleed for you. Please, I beg you, you stop your spitting, spewing toxins. I am up to my neck. I was just kicking my old habits from your industrial, post-industrial age, 1890s through 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I was coming back to life. What happened to you, Clean Water Act, Great Society? America, you betrayed me. Pocahontas exhaust. My name is mud. I am the great Susquehanna, officially named before the beginning of time, before the making of America, an endless river, through the Allegheny Plateau, Algonquin, then Lenape, Hoking, Oneonta, Iroquois meeting Mud River, Singing River. Let me speak again. Roar again over rocks and pebbles through muck and mud. Let me live. I am the great Susquehanna. That's it. That about wraps it up. It was hard getting people together, but small victories are big victories.